Hi friends, welcome to IAS Baba's Public Administration Daily Answer Writing Program. By the way, this is the last lecture of the episode, lecture 5. In this lecture, let us take up the strategy for public administration optionals after prelims. That is how you prepare for mains after prelims within the 2 months of duration. Okay, first thing is that you have to get your notes updated. Updated in the sense examples, case studies, and other related current events have to be brought into your notes so that they are comprehensive. Firstly, for the paper 1 contemporary relevance part, and for the paper 2 as a whole. Next thing is the revision. You have to revise the notes thoroughly. Thoroughly in the sense you have to give at least 10 to 12 reads of your notes, and you have to by heart the quotes, the case studies, and keywords. After that, you have to come to the understanding of the concepts. Here, friends, when we go through the questions that are being asked in public administration, mere understanding of concepts are not sufficient. You have to by heart the attributes or synonyms that are present or hidden behind the concept. For example, take a concept of constitutionalism. Here, the attributes are like the goals provided in the Constitution, values or philosophies adumbrated in the Constitution, powers given by the Constitution to the political executive, inhibitations to the powers of the Constitution, all these things. And whenever the constitutionalism is asked to link, you are not linking constitutionalism per se, but you are linking these attributes. Hence, it is very essential to by heart as many attributes as possible while coming to the conceptual clarity, and that is how you exhibit your conceptual clarity to the examiner with the usage of apt synonyms and attributes rather than using the word repeatedly again and again. Taking another example, maybe NPA, New Public Administration, is asked to link with others. You don't repeat NPA again and again, rather, you use words like the relevance, values, equity, and change, the goals, or maybe activism of NPA, then leadership role of bureaucrats, normativism, and lastly, scientificism. And you start linking all these attributes and you make a complete analysis of NPA given to link for any other concept for that matter, even for paper 2. So this is how we have to learn the conceptual clarity, and this is very much essential for the analytical type of questions. Then the next part is answer writing practice. You have to practice as many answers as possible, that too within the examination constraints, the time constraint, the environmental constraint, the competitors, all those things. And the next is self evaluation. No matter how many people evaluate your answers, your self evaluation rules the roost. Here you have to know whether you yourself are satisfied and whether you are able to convey to yourself effectively the knowledge you have acquired on your own. And the next is the peer or faculty evaluation. Here, how well is your answer with others? We are linked to CPA, comparative public administration, and this is the last process and the final touch up wherein you can fine tune your skills, avoid small and avoidable errors, and provide a competitive and a power packed answer. and here your preparation ends. What you have to do is, for the next half a month or fortnight or a week, finish all these strategies and indulge only in revising your notes and move to the exam hall with utmost confidence. Now, coming to the daily answer writing program, day 19. Policemen are civilians with uniform and public are police without one. Here, most of you have mentioned the positives of police, the negatives of police, and ended up the answer. Now you have to move further and say that how policemen they help civilians rather than just acting as a controlling authority. Provide various examples wherein you come across in the newspaper in the wake of COVID-19, and at the same time how public are acting as policemen. Maybe they are helping the policemen in enforcing the lockdowns, or maybe good examples like residence welfare agencies helping in night patrolling, Mahila volunteers, Mahila police volunteers, all those things. So whenever you go through the newspapers, you have to make note of good police initiatives and voluntary public initiatives and bring it to your notes so that those things they come in handy for writing a good answer in such questions. Next one, insurgencies cannot be controlled solely with the application of force. Also discuss some of the creative measures taken up. Once again here, when you come across creative measures taken in the insurgency areas by police, paramilitary and military forces, you should note down and bring it effectively. And further here, one question is how to differentiate your answer from a generalistic or from a GS answer. The best thing is that good usage of quotes. Quotes of hardcore public administrationists, or maybe any other quotes of experts in this field, experts in police reforms, if the questions are very deep and you won't get any of the quotes there. And then coming to day 20, you have to evaluate the effects of public policy as opposed to intentions. Here the question only means that you have to evaluate the intent behind the policy rather than the effect. Most of you have got the analysis wrong here, and the question says that once the intent is correct, effect will automatically be correct, and there is no need of evaluating the effect separately, and we have to weigh this over this, and then it becomes a correct answer. And public policy, you can give n number of examples, but however give some of the examples outside India as well, so that this is a question from paper 1 and paper specificity is maintained. Next, coming to PERT and CPM. Friends, good clarity of PERT and CPM is a must. Almost all reference books they provide a similar meaning. Go through the synopsis and note down those stark differences that have been provided. And one more thing, friends, don't take the synopsis as a model answer, take it as a knowledgeable resource, because much research have been carried out to prepare the synopsis, and if you get any supplement material which can enhance your knowledge, do add it into your notes and enrich your notes. Now coming to day 21, question hour is a torchlight turned on towards public exchequer. Explain with the help of suitable examples. Here no reference book provides good examples regarding question hour per se. Take it any book for that matter. Only one example is that Mundra scam, and this is repeated 5 to 6 times. That's it. But the link provided in the synopsis provides updated examples and latest questions that have been asked in the assembly houses in the parliament. So keep a track of that link, update your notes with good examples, maybe even question hours, 0 hours, or maybe the private bills that have been passed. All those case studies are very important in order to provide hardcore public administration answers. Coming to the next one, parliamentary control over public expenditure is a myth. Here, nothing happens except a temporary criticism in the parliament. Now, the statement is cynical as it is, like it says that parliamentary control over public expenditure has no effect at all, or it is just a toothless tiger. Here, our duty, though not provided to comment critically, it's our duty to provide both positives and negatives of the answer. You have to mention how prima facie the parliamentary control seems to be a myth. However, there are many additional advantages as well. Most of you have missed the additional advantage, or maybe some of the examples where parliamentary control have actually yielded results. So this question was asked to make sure that how to avoid the cynical tone of your answer, though the question forces you to provide one. Coming to next one, day 22. Budgeting is draped with trappings of professionalism, technology, and expertise, but it is also a system of values and politics. Friends, remember this is a paper 1 question, and most of you just provide the shading of professionalism and move away with the examples quoting from Indian budgeting. Now, this is a wrong strategy, and this only shows that you lack content in paper 1. That's why your brain is moving straight away to paper 2. Hence, provide good quotes, good explanations, and good examples from international best practices for all these keywords to exhibit the examiner that you are well versed in both theoretical and practical knowledge of budget, and you can bring in the content of paper 2 by at most 10 to 15% by giving 3 to 4 examples from Indian budgets, not more than that. And now coming to next one, the planning programming budgeting system and planning programming budgeting execution. Take the synopsis as a resource material once again, because no reference book provide the difference between these two things, and most of the reference book even they don't provide these two budgeting systems at all. And make sure that if this is clear, then all other types of budgeting will get clear on their own, because these are the very minute ones. So go through the synopsis. The intent behind asking this question and providing the synopsis was to educate you regarding these two budgeting systems. And coming to the last day, day 23, as far as disaster management is concerned, it is high time for India to upgrade our strategies from rescue, relief, and rehabilitation to prediction, prevention, and mitigation. Here, the thing is that you get n number of content for all the keywords, but how to differentiate between a GS answer and a PubAd answer? The best thing is the usage of quotes, friends. You have to provide good number of quotes, committee recommendations, or the statements of former bureaucrats who have done a meticulous service in the arena of disaster management. So whenever experts like former secretaries, cabinet secretaries, they come to the news, and when they debate about the current strategy of disaster management, make sure that you take an excerpt from those quotes and bring it to your notes, so that you can provide a specialist answer for such questions, especially the hardcore questions like disaster management, then RTI, RTS, or even polity like judicial activism, all those questions. Now coming to the next one, NPM and NPS have equal contribution to establishment of regulatory commissions. As explained earlier, here the keywords or attributes they matter a lot. Attribute of NPM: market orientation, client orientation, healthy competition, facilitatory role. However, NPS: roving, government's enhanced role, serving government as service provider in some of the extents, and one component of NPA like the goals of relevance, equity, change, etc. Now start linking all these attributes to the regulatory commissions. Regulatory bodies like SEBI, IRDA, PFRDA, any for that matter. So this is how you analyze. Your brain should work this way while tackling such questions. Now coming to the last part, friends, all of you are going to give prelims within a couple of days. So make sure that you are having enough motivation and not the obsession. The difference is that motivation gives you a hope. It gives a spirit in the sense that you can clear exam. That is why you study hard. But obsession is different. It is like demanding the Almighty to provide a favorable result just because you have studied hard. And this component costs you a lot in case of failures. Any person with an obsession for civil service, he'll suffer a lot if he misses that too in a small margins. So make sure that you have a balanced mindset, have the motivation, do not have obsession here. Okay, because obsession has too much of lenience towards success and it doesn't accept failure at any cost. Friends, we can deduce that success and failures are just subjective in nature. For one person, civil service exam may be the life dream. For other, it may be a clerical job. For some, IAS may be the only means to serve the nation, but for others, it is just one of the means. So, success and failures, they are not static in nature. And if you remove these subjectivities from the success and failure, what we fetch is that failure teaches more. Failures, they teach more than the success teach. So failures, they teach you the experience, a good lesson, how to cope up with the agony, how to face the society with a gentle smile. It gives a strength and fortitude to your brain. That is the power to experience more and more pain and agony in the future, just like how the vaccination does. So be happy. If you have failed, don't take it to the heart. And moreover, friends, if you are not fit enough to acclimatize and digest your failures in civil service exam, it is a given thing that you are unfit to celebrate the joy of success as well. So make sure that you balance and you have a matured mindset before going to the exam. An obsessive mind with an immature mindset can make you just the audience of the game, with full of emotions and other things. But however, a balanced brain can reach you to a level wherein the very game itself stands to be your audience. Hence, have a matured, balanced mindset, take success and failures with an equal sportive spirit, and fight the exam with tactics and not with emotions. Let what you have learned come in the exam hall, not what you have thought of. All the best. Namaskar. All the best for your preparation, friends. Let all of you come out with colorful flowers. Good luck.